The elegant dining room at Meridian Country Club buzzed with conversation as my extended family celebrated Mom's 55th birthday. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables adorned with white roses and gold accents, while servers moved gracefully between tables carrying champagne and hors d'oeuvres that cost more than most people's weekly grocery budget. I sat at the far end of the main table watching my relatives discuss their latest achievements. My cousin Bradley had just gotten promoted to senior partner at his architectural firm. My sister Amanda was celebrating her appointment as chief of pediatrics at Children's Hospital. Even my younger brother Marcus was thriving as a real estate developer, having just closed on a major downtown project. Then there was me, 34-year-old Rebecca Davis, sitting quietly in a dress I'd worn to 3 previous family events, nursing a glass of sparkling water while everyone else enjoyed premium wine. Rebecca dear, my Aunt Helen leaned across the table with that particular smile reserved for family members you pity. How are things going with your, what do you call it? Community organizing. The question drew attention from nearby relatives, all turning to hear about my apparent lack of professional success. It's going well, I replied simply, cutting into my chicken. But you're still living in that little apartment, right? My cousin Jennifer added with false concern. The one near downtown where all those protests happen? I live downtown, yes. My uncle Robert, a successful corporate lawyer, set down his wine glass with authority. Rebecca, you're 34 years old. When are you going to consider a real career? Something with benefits, stability, a future. I'm happy with my current work, I said, feeling heat rise in my cheeks as the conversation became increasingly pointed. Happy doesn't pay bills, Mom interjected from the head of the table. Or build retirement savings. Or provide health insurance. The entire table was listening now, 40 pairs of eyes focused on the family's apparent underachiever. Amanda cleared her throat diplomatically. What Robert and Mom are trying to say is that we're all concerned about your long-term financial security. Community organizing is admirable, but it's not exactly a growth industry. Plus, all that political activism, Jennifer added with a slight wrinkle of her nose. It's so divisive. Always protesting and complaining about city policies. Some of us have to work with those same officials. Bradley nodded sagely. The business community doesn't look favorably on rabble-rousers. It makes networking difficult when you're known as someone who causes trouble for elected officials. I set down my fork, my appetite disappearing as my family dissected my life choices with surgical precision. I don't cause trouble, I said quietly. I work to improve conditions for residents. By organizing protests, Mom said with evident disapproval. By disrupting city council meetings. By stirring up controversy whenever there's a development project. By advocating for affordable housing and community services, I corrected. Uncle Robert leaned forward with the expression of someone about to deliver hard truths. Rebecca, advocacy is a hobby, not a career. You need to think practically about your future. I could probably get you an entry-level position at my firm, paralegal work, filing, basic research. It's not glamorous, but it's steady income. With room for advancement, Amanda added encouragingly. If you proved yourself reliable. Marcus, my younger brother, decided to join the intervention. Rebecca, I love that you care about social issues, but you're living like a college student at 34. You drive a 10-year-old Toyota, you shop at thrift stores, and you haven't taken a real vacation in years. Because I can't afford to, Mom added pointedly. Which is exactly our concern. The weight of their collective judgment felt crushing. These were people I loved, people who'd supported me through college and early adulthood. The fact that they'd completely misunderstood my life's work felt like a personal failure. Look, Bradley said with the patience of someone explaining basic concepts to a child, we're not saying community organizing is worthless. But at some point you need to transition into something sustainable. Maybe nonprofit management, or government relations for a corporation. Something that pays, Jennifer emphasized. Something with a future. I looked around the table at my successful, well-meaning family members, all certain they understood my situation better than I did. You think I'm unemployed, I said slowly. We think you're underemployed, Mom corrected. There's a difference. And we think you're wasting your potential, Amanda added. You were valedictorian in high school, summa cum laude in college. You could be doing anything you want. What if I told you I am doing what I want? Mom's laugh was gentle but devastating. Sweetheart, living paycheck to paycheck and fighting with City Hall isn't what anyone wants. It's what people do when they haven't found their real calling yet. Uncle Robert nodded emphatically. Your mother's right. You're clearly passionate about civic issues. That's admirable. But there are ways to channel that passion into a real career. Corporate social responsibility, government consulting, policy analysis for think tanks. Real careers, Marcus emphasized, with salaries and benefits and growth potential. The conversation was becoming increasingly painful. I was about to excuse myself when I heard commotion near the restaurant's entrance. Is that the mayor? Someone whispered from a nearby table. I turned to see Mayor Patricia Williams walking into the dining room, flanked by 2 staff members and what appeared to be a photographer from the city's communications office. She was scanning the room as if looking for someone specific. What's the mayor doing here? Jennifer whispered. The entire restaurant had noticed the mayor's arrival. Conversations quieted as people craned their necks to see what official business might have brought her to a private birthday celebration. Mayor Williams spotted me and walked directly to our table, her face breaking into a warm smile. Councilwoman Davis, she called out, her voice carrying across the dining room. I'm so sorry to interrupt your family celebration, but I had to thank you personally for the hospital donation. The silence at our table was absolute. 40 family members stared as the mayor approached me with obvious respect and familiarity. Your Honor, I said, standing to greet her. You didn't need to come all the way here. Of course I did. A $12 million donation to expand the Children's Cancer Wing deserves personal recognition. My family's faces were frozen in expressions of confusion and shock. Mom's champagne glass hovered forgotten halfway to her lips. The dedication ceremony next month is going to be beautiful, Mayor Williams continued. The Davis Family Children's Treatment Center will help so many families. Amanda made a small choking sound. Marcus dropped his napkin and didn't notice. And I wanted to discuss the affordable housing initiative you proposed, the mayor added. The city council voted unanimously to approve your development plan. Congratulations, Councilwoman. Uncle Robert was staring at me as if I'd suddenly started speaking a foreign language. Thank you, Your Honor. I'm pleased the council saw the value in creating more affordable options for working families. The value? Mayor Williams laughed. Rebecca, your housing plan is going to transform how this city approaches development. $25 million in private funding for affordable housing. It's revolutionary. Jennifer's wine glass slipped from her trembling hand, sending Chardonnay across the white tablecloth. Well, I don't want to interrupt your celebration any longer, the mayor said, glancing around the table at my family's stunned faces. But I wanted to personally express the city's gratitude. Your leadership on the council has been transformative. She turned to address my family directly. You should be incredibly proud of Councilwoman Davis. She's accomplished more in 2 years on the city council than most politicians achieve in decades. After the mayor left, the silence at our table stretched uncomfortably long. 40 relatives sat frozen, processing what they'd just witnessed. Finally, Mom found her voice. Rebecca, what just happened? The mayor thanked me for a donation and discussed city business, I said simply. Councilwoman Davis? Amanda repeated slowly. The mayor called you Councilwoman Davis. Because I'm a city councilwoman. I was elected 2 years ago. Marcus leaned forward, his face pale. You're on the city council? I'm on the city council. But you said you were doing community organizing, Bradley protested. Community organizing was what I did before I ran for office. It's also what led to my election. Uncle Robert was staring at me with the expression of someone watching their fundamental assumptions about reality crumble. You're an elected official? I'm an elected official who also runs a private foundation focused on healthcare and affordable housing. $12 million, Jennifer whispered. She said $12 million. That's just this year's hospital donation, I clarified. The foundation typically allocates between $8 and $15 million annually, depending on community needs. Mom set down her champagne glass with trembling hands. Rebecca, where did you get $12 million? From Davis Development Solutions, my urban planning and real estate development company. We specialize in mixed-income housing projects and commercial developments that benefit entire communities. The revelation seemed to physically impact my family. Amanda gripped the edge of the table as if the room was spinning. Your company? Marcus managed to ask. My company. We've completed projects in 6 cities over the past 5 years, with a total development value of approximately $200 million. Bradley made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. 200 million? In development value, yes. My personal net worth is significantly lower, around 43 million, mostly in company equity and real estate holdings. The silence that followed was broken only by the gentle clinking of dishes as servers cleared nearby tables. Cousin Jennifer was the first to speak. So when we thought you were unemployed, I was running a multi-million-dollar development company and serving as an elected official. And when we worried about your financial security, Amanda continued, I was managing a charitable foundation with 8-figure annual giving. Uncle Robert loosened his tie as if he suddenly couldn't breathe. Rebecca, why didn't you tell us? I tried to, I said gently. Every time I mentioned my work, you called it community organizing or political activism. You saw me at protests and assumed I was just complaining about city policies, not that I was working to change them from within the system. Mom's voice was barely a whisper. We thought you were struggling. I know. You saw me drive an older car and wear simple clothes and assumed I was barely making ends meet. But why live so modestly if you're so successful? Bradley asked. Because I believe elected officials should live like their constituents, not like wealthy elites. How can I represent working families if I don't understand their daily challenges? Marcus shook his head slowly. So when I offered to help you get a real job, you were offering career advice to someone who employs 127 people across 6 cities. The weight of their misunderstanding seemed to settle over the table like a heavy blanket. Amanda leaned forward, her voice thick with emotion. Rebecca, we've been such fools. You've been family members who care about my well-being, I corrected. You just didn't have complete information. But tonight, Mom said, her eyes filling with tears, when I said you were an embarrassment, you were speaking from concern, not malice. I called my daughter an embarrassment, Mom continued, when she's apparently running the city and donating millions to children's hospitals. Uncle Robert stood up abruptly. I need some air, he mumbled, walking toward the restaurant's patio. Jennifer was staring at her hands. I feel sick. The things we said. You said them because you love me and want me to be secure and happy, I replied. Your intentions were good even if your assumptions were wrong. Bradley cleared his throat. Rebecca, can you help us understand? How did we miss all of this? I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in months. Because you were looking for traditional markers of success. Expensive clothes, luxury cars, corporate titles. You didn't recognize a different kind of success story. Different how? Amanda asked. I measure success by community impact, not personal wealth accumulation. I measure achievement by problems solved, not status symbols acquired. Mom reached across the table to take my hand. Can you forgive us? There's nothing to forgive. But going forward, maybe ask about my work instead of assuming you understand it. Marcus laughed shakily. Ask about your work. Right. So, Councilwoman Davis, how's the real estate development business? The tension at the table finally broke as several relatives chuckled. It's going well, I replied with a grin. We're breaking ground on a new mixed-income housing project next month. 300 units, 30% affordable housing, integrated with retail and community services. And the city council work? Amanda asked, genuine curiosity replacing her earlier concern. Challenging but rewarding. We're working on transportation improvements, small business support programs and environmental sustainability initiatives. As the evening progressed, my family's questions shifted from worry about my future to genuine interest in my work. They asked about development projects, city policies and foundation initiatives. For the first time in years, they saw me as I actually was rather than as they'd assumed me to be. Later, as the celebration wound down, Mom pulled me aside. Rebecca, I owe you the biggest apology of my life. Mom, you don't. Yes, I do. I called my daughter an embarrassment when she's making her community better every single day. When she's housing families and healing children and serving the public. I hugged her tightly. You raised me to care about more than just personal success. Tonight showed me that the values you taught me are working. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. And so sorry it took the mayor showing up for me to see clearly. As I drove home that night, in my practical Toyota, to my modest downtown apartment, I reflected on the evening's revelations. My family had learned that success comes in many forms, and I'd learned that their love and concern were constants, even when their understanding was incomplete. Tomorrow I'd return to city council meetings and development projects and foundation work. But tonight had reminded me that the most important relationships require both patience and honesty, and that sometimes the best gift you can give someone is the chance to see you clearly.